Hello, Narnach here. Welcome back to the Human Resource Machine. Last episode we had a working solution for the zero terminated sum, but it wasn't fast enough. And I managed to find a solution. So let me guide you through the fastest solution I had last time as a bit of a refresher. So zero terminated sums. Numbers come in on the left side. We need to sum them. So 6 plus 5, and then the moment we see 0, we stop summing it and we send the total out. So this times 6 plus 5, end of series. So 6 plus 5 is 11, 11 goes out. New series starts here, 2, -7 and 3, add them, because again there's a terminator here, so the sum goes there, and we repeat. So, the solution I have. We start by copying the 0 value to the sum, resetting the cell. Then we read a value from the inbox and we check if it's a 0. Then we know, okay, the value here is already a 0. Value we're holding is a 0. Well, actually we can just ignore whatever is on the floor. We can just instantly send it out. So we send it to the outbox and then we jump back to here and we grab the next number. Okay, so if the first number we grab is not a 0, then we know that the sum is going to be higher than 0 afterwards. So we add the value we're holding to the sum and then we store it. After which we grab another number from the inbox and then we check again. Hey, if it's a 0, we break out. If not, we loop, we add it, copy it, and we check the next number. So at some point there will be a 0 again. After which we take the value from the sum, because we know it's larger than 0 because we've been through the loop already, at least once. So we reach the value and we send it to the outbox. After which we jump back and we jump back to the code that we used in the beginning to set our sum to 0. And that's the entire solution. And this ran 83 cycles, but the goal is 72. So it's 11 cycles too slow. I spent about half an hour trying to optimize this, just moving the different things around, and the fastest I could get it was 81 cycles. And that was just basically smartly rearranging things so that the natural flow for basically that the jump is 0, that it used one less cycle and it happens twice, so you got it down. Well, as most of the time, if you're trying to optimize it, the best way to do it is to throw out your entire solution and start with a different approach. So that's what I did. And you see that this one is now labeled sum. And actually, it doesn't need to be initialized to 0. Any of these values can be the sum. This is actually a decoy. So the approach I was taking, using this as a given value that I could use to clear my cell, it wasn't actually necessary. That's the entire trick. It wasn't necessary. Because we can make the distinction. So let's start through. So we jump over some initial bits. We grab a number from the inbox. If it's a 0, if the number we grab is a 0, we jump back. We send it straight to the outbox. A series that starts with a 0, the sum is 0, we can just send it out. We don't need to even bother with anything on the floor. Okay, so if it's not a 0, we store it in sum. So we don't add it to the sum, we copy it to the sum. So our initial value is always going to be the first value of the sum. And that's why it doesn't really matter where you start, because the first value is always going to be set to what you have. After that, we read the number, we check if it's 0. If it's a 0, that means we have reached the end of the 0 terminated string. So then we jump back, and then we read the final value from the sum, and we send it out. If the number, the second number, so to say, or the third, or the whatever number we picked up is not a 0, we just add it to the sum, which means we grab the sum, we add it, and then we need to write it down again, so we copy it back to the sum, and then we jump back, grab a number. So this is only 11 instructions, and the reason this is not super optimized is because we take this first extra step to copy a value to sum. rather than doing it here. It saves us having to zero it. But that's it. And so if, yeah, just had a flash, what if I took this one out and did some rearranging, so to actually rely on the fact that we have a 0 here to add it to it. I think it might actually be slower. Either way, the target is 72 cycles, and this solution, last time I ran it, it was 68, so we're 4 faster than what we have to be. Let's see if that's again the case now. And again, it's the case, 68 cycles, or steps. So, solutions 21, solved. Onward, Fibonacci Visitor. This back hallway is for advanced employees only. Are you sure you want to be here? Night shift assignments are optional, you know, and they are difficult. If you need to ask for help, I'll just be here looking through these catalogs for a golden spiral. Okay, for each thing in the inbox, send to the outbox the full Fibonacci sequence up to, but not exceeding that value. Oof, interesting. For example, if inbox is 10, outbox should be 112358. What's a Fibonacci sequence? Ask your boss or a friendly search box. So, now how will they explain it? What's a Fibonacci sequence? Each number in the sequence is the sum of the 2 numbers just before it. So that's why you start with 1, 1. The first 2 numbers are 1 and 1. So the third number is 1 plus 1 equals 2. Then the next one is 1 plus 2 equals 3. And then 2 plus 3 makes 5. And you just keep iterating like that. 3 plus 5 is 8. And it goes on for a while, forever really. Shall we continue? Let's leave that as an exercise for you. Back to work! Okay. So, Fibonacci. Oof. This is an interesting one. We have a 0 that we start with. We can bump it to make 1s. Actually, yeah, let's mark this one as 0. This is probably going to be useful to keep, so we keep it as a 0. So we bump it, then we do a copy 2. That's the first number. And we do a copy 2 down. I don't think we lose it if we save it. So let's have a run. Bump it. Okay. It's good enough. So we start with that. Let's clear it. This is not a number. Okay. So we start 1, 1. Interesting. Okay, so the approach, we can just try to build a Fibonacci sequence, but we need to compare it to a number. So if we take our input number and we copy it to here. How do we do this? How do we do this? So what we can do. So let's mark this as goal. So that's where our inbox number goes to. Then we have Fib1 or Fib A. Let's just label it A. Then we have a B. So we have a number, and then we add 2 of them, we add them to one or the other, and that way we just keep increasing it, and we need to send it out all the time. And then we need to compare it. So let's say this is the difference. So what we can do, if we generate a sequence, we have a 1. Let's look at the example. So 10 minus 1 is 9. That's a positive number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8. 8 is also 10 minus 8, that's 2. That's still good. The moment we get to 13, 10 minus 13 is negative. Negative means we should stop. So we can use that as a terminator condition. Whenever diff becomes negative, we stop with the run. And that's also, we can run up to it. So if we have a 10, for example, or let's say the target was 8. 8 minus 8 is 0, which is not negative, so it's still good. So this approach seems to work. So for the termination condition, we now have a solution. We need to generate our setup first, but sure. And we need to be able to reset it, so we can't actually mess with this. It just needs to stay a 0. Okay, so we have our goal. We then do a copy from that one, and we copy it to A. Then we bump A, and we copy it to B. So that's how we initialize our setup. We have a number and a number. We probably should have a sum as well, shouldn't we? No, because we're just generating more and more numbers. Okay. Let's see if it runs correctly up to this point. So we store our goal, take this, put it in down, we bump it, store it. Okay. So then we know we have this number. Then we can add the previous, and we copy 2. So we increment it. So the next number in the series is going to be the 2. Then we can add the next number. And we put it down. And then let's put a jump in here. So now we can just observe if the Fibonacci sequence itself is actually setting up correctly. 1 makes 2, we put it down. We add it, makes 3, put it down. We add it, makes 5, that's good. Plus 3 makes 8, that's good. Okay. So every time, the thing is we're holding the value in our hands. That's useful. And it allows us to jump back and forth. Thing is, we need to do something with it. We need to compare it. So let's see. Last thing we do is we copy it to B. That initializes it. Then we probably should start checking at that point. Not sure if this will ever run with a 1. Probably should do a copy from goal, copy to diff, and then maybe we should start with that, and always make sure that diff is proper. So if we copy to goal, we can also do a copy to diff. then we know diff is always in the correct state. So then after we have written the value to b here, or to a, doesn't really matter. Then we can subtract this value. Doesn't actually matter. We can do the subtraction in our hands. I don't think the diff actually needs to be written. That's even better. So we hold the value. So we can just say, hey, subtract our goal. And as long as that's a negative, we can continue. Otherwise, we are done. Also, wait, we need to send out the entire sequence, shouldn't we? So we, yeah. So we, let's see, we copy the value to A, bump it, we send it out. Then we do a copy from A, copy it to B, we send it out again. So we start with 1, 1. Then next up, we add A, we copy it to A, we send it out. We have an empty hand. If we take out all the jumps, we reset every time. So the alternating between A and B, that still works, but if you want to double check things, there's going to be multiple checks. That's an annoyance. You can't add this because we need to read a value. So here we need to do a copy from A. And we probably need to do a copy from B after this if you want this to run. So let's see. Infinite sequence. We have a 1. We send it out. Ah, okay. So the copy from B, we actually need to start with it, otherwise it doesn't make sense. Okay. So it looks like our generator is working and it's just not crashing at the right time. That's good. So let's call this one out. It bothers me that we read from 2 different things and then have a step that's similar. I have to figure out what we're gonna do with that, but for now, that's not the problem. So before we run it out, the number, we need to first double check that we haven't exceeded our goal. So if we subtract the goal value, actually we need to copy to out, yeah. Then at least we have the value we want to store saved somewhere. Actually we have A, doesn't really matter. So we subtract the goal. If that is negative, then we know we're still good to go. Otherwise, we are done. So we can reset all the way to the beginning to clear this. If it's negative, then we can once again do a copy from A and send it to the outbox. Then for the other situation, we need to do a similar thing. So we just stored it to B. Then we can subtract our goal. Then if that is negative, we do a jump. Otherwise, we do another jump back to the beginning. And the negative jump, we still need to load in the value of B before we send it out. This should be a working solution unless I made some silly syntactic error. And it seems to work. Not enough stuff in the outbox. Ah! So because I'm reversing the order of subtraction, it actually doesn't work. So and there's no jump if positive, so let's just add a jump if 0. It's the easiest. So the problem was that one of the second number was a 5, which is part of the Fibonacci sequence. 5, negative 5, 0. 0 is not negative, so it didn't terminate. Which was not a good thing. Or so it actually terminated because of the whole boundary condition thing. But in this case, he's not complaining. Looks like we have a working solution. Wow! Wow! 97 steps rather than 156. Now the thing is, we used 9 instructions too many. Interesting. So, inbox. Copy 2. This is goal. Then we do a copy from. Yo. Copy 2. Number this once again. A. Make this B. And this is 0. Oh, actually, we were just bumping that one, right? So it became a 1. Let's see, we send it out, then we do a copy from 1. We do a copy to B, and we send it out. Okay, so our setup alone takes 9 steps. There is some replication in here. That's the worst bit. So there's 6 steps for resetting these two. And there is a way to... if you reshuffle it, it doesn't really matter. That's the biggest problem. You can say, well, hey, let's... we have the number. No, might as well just write it down twice in a row. But then the moment you send it out, you need to read it again, and then you send it out. So it doesn't really matter if we do it in the proper order. That is. So this way, it's clear, clean. So we got 10 instructions for Fibonacci. So do a copy from A. We add B. And then we overwrite A. So we know at this point A is the goal. Now we can say subtract our goal we are done. If either of these are true. I'm at 15 already, half of an implementation. Okay, then we know it's not too far. So we need to copy A again and send it out. Okay, but we don't have space for a more refined solution. So we need to do the in-place shuffle. That's because we can't repeat this, we don't have the cycles for that. Let's see, if the jump is 0, if we take it out, that means we need to do a copy from goal. And then we subtract our temp. So copy from A, add B, and that makes a copy to temp. Again, T, M, B. I think the setup procedure needs to be folded into part of this process, because the only way to get more instructions is if we inline this in some way. Terribly frustrating. So we store it, we read A again, subtract temp if it's negative, we are bored. Otherwise we can read again from temp. Actually, yeah, because temp needs to go out. Now we can do that last. What we need to do is read from B, copy it to A. Then we can read from temp, we copy it to B and we send it out. And then we go back. We have 21 instructions. Better than 22, but it's still not 19 that we need. So how can we scavenge 2 cycles out? I'm thinking it's in the setup. I currently have no idea how to make this shorter. It's only 2 instructions. You would think it's not this hard. Probably just need to completely rethink how I'm solving this. So for now, this is what you're gonna have to do it with. We have a solution that runs very fast, but we can't get the steps, the instruction count down. So if you figure it out, let me know. There are comments below. I always read them. And for that, otherwise, hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And next episode, I'll tell you how I did it. Thank you very much for watching, and hope to see you again next time. Bye bye.